Season 3, Episode 14. I had to double check. I'm like, yo, we are so far into this season already. It's April. Woo! My goodness, where's the year going? Welcome to the show. BD here, joined today by Jamie Jirac.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Jamie Jirac. Thanks for being here. We got Aaron Perrine.
BD, we have so much to talk about.
We have so much to talk about today. We love days where we have so much to talk about. That's a great thing. Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody. I'll just let us get started because this is a chunky one. Like, we have so much to talk about today.
Oh, we're going to talk. That's right. We got the Core 4 on today's show. We love to see it. Comment section going crazy. Like SoFi Stadium did this weekend. Aaron and I were at WrestleMania. We didn't even hang out. Oh, my God. What are we doing, Aaron?
We do this every event we go to, BD, almost, except for Black Panther. We are near each other, like yards away, but then also just look at each other from far away, Wow.
I'd say, though, WrestleMania was amazing fun.
It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just wandered into night one and then was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is so good. Like, what happened? And then BD was like, are you going to night two? I'm like, not so much. And that might have been a good decision.
Honestly, night one was the night. Speaking of wandering in, Joe Deckelmeyer, one of my really good friends, works over at Screen Rant. Him and I had tickets, and he had seats on the, not on the floor, but down there. And he also had a suite. So people were alternating. So we went to go down to the seats down low, and you're supposed to take the elevator to 2 and then take the stairs. But we took the elevator to 1, and we accidentally walked out of the tunnel, not the stage, but the tunnel where I think the football team comes out, and then John Cena's music hit. And it was just oh my God, what are we doing here? But I want to stay. Man, I could talk all day about WrestleMania, but we got to talk about Marvel. We also got to talk about the fact that Phase Zero is presented by Enterprise Rent-A-Car these days. Look at that. Thank you, Enterprise, for saying, hey, that show's so good, we want to put our name on it. Enterprise is riding with us this week, and we appreciate that. If you need to rent a car, go to Enterprise. That's today's sponsor, which is awesome. We have a sponsor. Thank you for that. Huge thanks to Jim Viscardi for helping get that done. And now it's time to talk about Marvel. A lot of things to talk about. We got a couple trailers to talk about today. We're going to do a couple trailer breakdowns. We got some news at the tail end of today's show. Lego is finally, it's happening. Anybody who has ever watched Phase Zero knows what I'm about to say. Lego is finally making an Avengers Tower of the proportion which I want them to make. It is going to be $524. It is going to be more than 5,000 pieces. And you can bet I am saving my pennies now. I'm going to walk into the Lego store with 52,000 pennies, and I'm going to drop them on the table. And I'm going to say, this is for making me wait this long. I'm going to buy Avengers Tower. So this is like a pretty credible rumor now that Lego is finally building Avengers Tower. This was a rumor last year, and it turned out to be a very lackluster Hulkbuster Lego set. That was like $1 zillion, and I am absolutely not buying that. But this is a pretty credible rumor. The Lego Avengers Tower expected in November of this year. Please let it be true this time. I can't wait.
I love Avengers our community for everyone putting it into the community tab and talking about it. Be like, BD, look. And I'm like, I'm sure he knows, you guys. I'm sure he knows.
Oh, I knew. Oh, I can't wait. I don't know where I'm going to. It's going to be a fixture in this room. I got the Lego roller coaster back there. I'm going to drop. I don't care. I'm going to push it off, drop it on the floor, a million pieces. Avengers Tower. I hope it's tall enough to touch the ceiling. I don't care. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tickets are on sale now. Did any of you guys buy tickets to Guardians yet?
I stopped with that drama of Marvel ticket sales because almost every time we go early for work anyway, and it's always and every time you try to do it right when it drops, it's stressful. It's LA. They always add screenings last minute, so I don't bother with this anymore. I let the people live their stress. I know I'm going to see the movie. It's all good. So no, I didn't.
Am I the only one who bought tickets to Guardians of the Galaxy for opening night? Wow. I know Aaron
did. Scar from Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
The Scar Taylor Swift tickets, right? Right, Jenna?
Yes, yeah, I still have PTSD. So anytime that I don't have to buy tickets ahead for a thing is so much better. So, but I know I'm going to see it multiple times, especially opening weekend. It's just I was not in a rush to buy tickets for myself right away. So
the superhero fatigue is real. James Gunn admitted it. You guys are even the Phase Zero post. My goodness. Now I bought my ticket, so I actually this is a sign of the times, I think, because I honestly had forgotten tickets were going on sale, and I woke up at whatever time I woke up several hours after tickets went on sale, and I just went on the Regal site and I got tickets, no problem. Pretty good seats in IMAX on opening night, and it was not even close to sold out. So I think that whole buy them immediately, crash the servers, rush era is over. At least for now. Who knows? Maybe it comes back whenever we get back to an Avengers level threat for tickets. But for now, it seems that people are just like, well, I'll see it when I see it. The urgency isn't there because we've been hurt before. Doctor Strange made us feel this whole don't get spoiled. And then it was like, well, yeah, they all died. So, all right. We got a couple trailers to talk about, and we're going to start off with Secret Invasion. So this part of Phase Zero, brought to you by Enterprise, is the Secret Invasion trailer breakdown. What did you guys think of the trailer, Aaron? You're at the top of the screen.
I really enjoyed it. I also was completely and utterly caught off guard by the fact that Vanity Fair is like, here's all this stuff, all this background information, which we'll get to later. But I like the tone. The tone is really, really cool. It's something that hasn't really happened. Probably even like Black Widow was like an action movie, probably more than like spycraft stuff. And this seems like, for those of you who wanted it on the ground, we in the dirt, y'all. This is what you wanted. So I'm hoping that it can be as cool as this trailer lets on.
This looks like a grittier version of Falcon and Winter Soldier to some extent, but also the thing that lost me the most was when we'll talk about this possible Super Skrull, but when that big old Groot arm came out, I was like, man, I liked how grounded this was. I know it's Skrulls, but I was like thrilled for the Winter Soldier type tone. And then, obviously we're going to get a little bit supernatural with the Skrulls. But yeah, I'm with you. It does look very, very gritty. Jamie, what'd you think? I know Jamie has thoughts.
This trailer was got me because that I was so hyped for this. And then it just kind of it lessened a little just because when is it coming out, whatever. And this trailer got me way hyped again. This is so my business right here, because it does seem really gritty on the ground, but with a little sprinkle of aliens, and that's amazing. I'm just excited for this era of Fury. We haven't had him in a while, and what does it mean? Is it I'm so excited. I can only form sounds in my and Olivia Colman sticking it to him and making Fury feel bad. That made me have feelings that are positive. I'm just really excited for this cast. Everything about this trailer really, really hyped me back up.
Jenna?
I liked this trailer so much. As I said on the show, I feel like the first trailer had the misfortune of being right after the Werewolf by Night trailer. So I was like, oh my God, Werewolf by Night. This is so amazing. And then this trailer, that first trailer was like, oh, this is good. But this one really, it set the tone. It told me what to expect. This is scratching the Winter Soldier itch in some really cool ways, while still just being a good acting showcase for these people. If you extrapolated the Marvel out of the show and you were just like, here is a espionage thriller with all of this cast, I feel like everyone would be all over it. So I'm glad that they're really leaning into that. I just think that they're doing some really cool, interesting things here that still seem to honor the comics. I love that the poster for the show has the same tagline as the ads did for the original comic, but they still seem to be doing something new. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not they could never, unless this became, an event movie, this could never have the size, the scope of the comic, which kind of bums me out because that comic is spectacular and it is such a big event. It follows Civil War in the comics. This is kind of following Endgame. So there's already kind of a lead into a fractured Avengers. But yeah, I still think this trailer is fantastic, and it not being this thing where the Skrulls are impersonating every Avenger and taking over the world while taking over Avengers and government officials. Seems mostly it's going to be government officials, but who knows? Maybe they're going to surprise us. But I think the trailer is great. One thing I want to talk about, Nick Fury, this man's timeline and whether or not he's a Skrull. They're talking about since you came back, we don't even know when he left, really, if you think about it. because he faked his own death in Winter Soldier, which I believe was actually Nick Fury. Then in Spider-Man Far From Home, he was a Skrull, which could mean in Avengers Endgame, he was a Skrull possibly, which then could also mean in Avengers Infinity War, the Fury who got dusted could have been a Skrull.
For me, I think that Endgame, he's definitely a Skrull. I think the big question is whether or not he was a Skrull in Ultron. That's what I want to know. That's because one, he's eating a sandwich that's not like, that's the theory. It's not shaped the right way as he says in Captain Marvel. But that's the answer I want, because I do think later he's definitely a Skrull. It's the Ultron era that I'm dying to know.
Do you think they'll touch on that in this? Do you think they'll go to the past and tell you when he was a Skrull and when he wasn't?
I hope so.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
It's a puzzle box show. I hope if you leave the Chekhov sandwich on the mantle, you better come back to the sandwich at the end. I also love MCU Twitter and social media. Figuring out the sandwich thing and focusing so much on it is very indicative of the level of passion amongst all of us. That's great.
We have a comment here, and I don't know if this is true. We might have to fact check this and get back to it. But on YouTube, if you read the Captain Marvel Prelude comic, he left Earth during Civil War. So that would mean Infinity War and Endgame were Skrulls, and Far From Home is a Skrull. And has he been in anything since those projects?
I don't think so.
No, I don't know. I don't think so either. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to find out, the Nick Fury versus Nick Fury Skrull timeline. I also noticed at some points he has this gray black hat on, and at some points he has the purple hat, and sometimes he has an eye patch, sometimes he doesn't. I'm wondering if that's going to be a way for the audience to track if we're following Nick Fury or Skrull Nick Fury. The color of the hat could be just a thing for the audience to know who we're looking at. They like to do those little nods so you can keep track.
Yeah, and also Jenna, isn't this right? Like in the traditional Skrull way that they're drawn in Marvel Comics, don't they usually have the little weird purple hat thing going on over their heads? Yeah, so that would be fun to kind of nod towards. Hey,
Purple hat Fury is Skrull Fury. You heard it here. There he is. Look at him. That's a Skrull right there. Those ears are looking a little extra pointy in the woods.
Yeah, definitely.
Some other things to take away. Kingsley Ben-Adir's character, possibly a Super Skrull. Jenny, you got thoughts on that?
I like the Groot arm. I know you're like, oh, this takes away from the groundedness, but it's like Skrulls are inherently a little weird, especially if you get into Super Skrull territory. I'm just glad that we're getting that at all, because if he was Super Skrull and he didn't do the weird stuff like that, I would be a little let down. So I think it's cool. I'm very curious how they're going to do the Super Skrull stuff, given how that character is established in the comics, but I think it's a very cool choice.
Can you give us a little Professor Jenna insight? What is a Super Skrull? Who is what?
Oh my God, I'm gonna need to dust up on this because it has been some time. But I'm just looking at the rundown today. I'm like, there's so much Professor Jenna stuff that is going on. But yeah, they are basically just Skrulls that are a little again, they have abilities that are kind of tied to Galactus, tied to the Fantastic Four. He can stretch his arm like Reed Richards does in the Fantastic Four. I know we won't get there in the same exact way, given the fact that the FF have not canonically been established yet. But yeah, that at least in my mind is oh cool, we have a little nod to this.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think it's cool, but I also I don't know, in the grounded nature of this trailer, I was like, I don't know if I need all this crazy extra ability VFX stuff. I like the raw feeling Winter Soldier tone. And I mean, obviously Super Soldier Serum is not grounded, but it is, I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker for the scientific stuff. Olivia Colman. James, what you got on Olivia Colman? How excited are you?
Let me interview her.
Hey, it's coming around.
Oh my God. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe Olivia Colman's in the MCU. It's like they just keep adding women that I love to this franchise that I love, and it's just it's like they're doing it for me specifically. And I'm living in the Truman Show of casting.
So Olivia Colman is presumably a government leader from the UK. Possibly a Skrull. There's a shot in the trailer where there's a whole bunch of bodies. They're all lit up and stuff, and it's kind of crazy looking. It looks like they're farming things, but I saw a theory from Heavy Spoilers what if, this could be an episode of that show, I don't know if you guys heard of it, but what if those are all like the world leaders that have been replaced by the Skrulls, and they're all just being kept there, and that's where they, are kept alive and fed, I don't know, by a tube or whatever it is, but so the Skrulls can then go be them as they need to out in the world. I don't know. That's obviously where Tony Stark is.
I like that. That's very dark, but I feel like if they fully lean into that and lean into how creepy that is, like, I would be sold. That would be amazing.
I want this show to be dark. I'm ready for the MCU Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said
Heck
word.
yeah.
The word. It would be interesting, I guess,
They also, we had a damage control logo on a briefcase right there, actually, as I said it. That was nicely timed. So we've had various members of damage control showing up in various projects in the MCU. Do you think we're going to get Arian Moayed, from Spider-Man No Way Home, or anybody else? Anybody you guys want to see?
It would be funny if, like, the lead damage control lady at the end of Miss Marvel, it's like, oh, she was just a Skrull. That's why they, like, so hard on, like, trying to arrest Kamala or whatever. But yeah, if we get any of the damage control people, then cool. But I feel like what we have now, we have such a big cast as it is. I would be happy either way.
I kind of want, and this is something I wrote for this site. It's like a long piece about the villains here, because I can't believe I didn't sniff out Kingsley Ben-Adir getting cast as a villain as a stunt casting. I'm probably the person on this panel who's seen One Night in Miami the most amount of times, and more than one. He was Malcolm X in it. That was my one thing. One of the things that really was weird to me about Falcon Winter Soldier is that the Flag Smashers were just a weird villain because they were so, like, not completely wrong that it felt strange to have freaking Sam Wilson be so like, oh, whatever. And then she gets shot by Sharon. I know how Jamie feels about that. So I would like this time, you've already set up a bunch of political things in some of the other projects peppered throughout Phase 4. The government probably needs to be the villain here. They don't it doesn't need to be Olivia Colman. It doesn't need to be the Skrulls. If it's just Val and she's in charge of damage control too somehow, that would be really, really, really cool. And I hope that's what we're building towards, honestly. Because if it's just another thing of the Skrulls are right to be angry at Nick Fury and humans, but they went too far, I'll be like, you have Julie Dreyfus in like running shape right here. Please use her. Or the same French guy that keeps getting bullied. The French diplomat guy that keeps getting swirled in all these movies. Please, one of them, somebody.
I want to see Val pop up in this, and I find it interesting that they say this leads into Armor Wars. They haven't said it leads into Thunderbolts. So it'll be interesting. Speaking of Val, okay, I want to talk about who's a Skrull here. And I feel like to have a good Skrull twist, it would have to be somebody who you'd be like, wait a second, whoa, they were in all these other projects. They were a Skrull the whole time, but not somebody that would completely upend everything we know about the MCU. Who better to possibly be a Skrull in that regard than Everett Ross, who was just in Wakanda forever, whose marriage recently went down the toilet. Maybe he started acting different because he's a Skrull and that blew up his marriage, and he was willing to kind of step out on the government a little bit and help Wakanda, which was like, cool move, bro. Maybe the real Everett Ross is kind of a bum. Maybe Skrull Everett Ross is a good dude. Or maybe on the flip side, Val, who we just talked about, could be a Skrull, and she just started becoming power hungry and wanting to infiltrate and rise up in the ranks of that government and become the leader of the Thunderbolts and recruit all these potentially bad-ish, gray area at best superheroes, so that she can give power to Skrulls, and that might have ruined her marriage as well. What do you guys think of that? Out of those two, if Val or Everett Ross are going to be a Skrull, which one?
I think I would prefer Val.
Val?
I think. I don't know. Well, you all reacted strangely. Now I feel like my opinion's wrong.
I would out of the two, I would say Ross, because I feel like BD said, there would be narrative repercussions, but it wouldn't like completely change Thunderbolts as a concept. It also like I like the idea of if Ross was a Skrull, like the real human Ross really still loves Val and is like following her around like a puppy dog, and she's just like, you broke up our marriage, leave me alone. Like I like that now, and I want that to happen. I don't know. I just want Val to be evil and morally gray. I just want her to be just herself and not have it be the Skrull twist, because she's just so interesting in and of itself. But I don't know.
Okay, you've convinced me.
What if she's not that different from the Skrull? She's like, good job. Now I'm gonna steal your tech. Like I want that. I still want her to be conniving and terrible. That's great. And then it gives us a through line for all these weird things going on where there's like double crosses on top of double crosses for some reason. Because like Brandon was saying about Miss Marvel and Damage Control, that's a really interesting point, because if Kamala's powers are like Carol's, they saw someone with freaking Kree technology and we're like, yo, we got to get her up off the board because we got beef. And I am 100% with that, because that's the other part about having the Skrulls be in this thing. And there's no like real, like besides Captain Marvel, we haven't really seen the Kree and Ronan pop up in much of anything. That would be really fun. That'd be interesting. Because
if you like a lot of Kree content, I recommend a little show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, Jamie,
Yeah,
go ahead.
There we go.
Let's do it. Do you think she's in it? Do you think she's in it, Jay?
Oh God, I don't. I as deeply as I want to believe Daisy's going to be in the show, I really don't think so.
I really like this comment on Twitch from Chris Chipperson. First of all, cool name. I like your name, Chipperson. Wish my name was Chipperson. What if they're both Skrulls and they didn't even know about each other? Little Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the Skrull world with Val and Everett Ross. That'd be fun. That'd be funny. Yeah. What if? That's the question. What if that show season 2 it never even comes out? Who knows? All right, so that's our Secret Invasion chat. If you guys want to talk more about it, drop some comments. We will try to get some at the end of the show if we have time, or we will respond on Twitter. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and when we come back to Phase Zero, sponsored by Enterprise, we're going to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse's trailer. So we will see you in just a minute. Welcome back to Phase Zero, Season 3, Episode 14, presented by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Right now, it's time to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which dropped an exciting new trailer this week. Not technically MCU. We don't care. This is greatness unfolding before our eyes, and later this year, we get to feast our eyes on the Spider-Verse sequel, which seems to be living up to the hype already. Let's talk about it, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What do we all think of this trailer? Aaron, you're at the top of the screen.
Oh, of course, I'm delighted. Of course, I'm delighted. I wake up like when the morning the trailer drops, and it's dropped hours beforehand. Just Slack carnage with Jim Viscardi be like, "Is anyone awake? Someone drop it!" So I'm super duper excited. More excited than I even was before, which is hard to believe.
It's now number 0 on the charts. It went from number 1 bumped up to 0 spot. The infinitely hyped. Jamie, what'd you think?
I felt bad because it really got overshadowed by the Barbie trailer. But like I am so hyped about this. Like, sometimes I'm not as excited about animation stuff. I'm like, yeah. But this, I mean, it just looks so good. It's gonna be like I just have no doubt like this movie's not gonna like rule. It's gonna be really good. And there's a lot of little fun things in here, some cute little bits that I'm excited about. So
Jenna?
I got teary-eyed like twice watching this. Like, I think it is just so visually gorgeous. It like the emotional heart seems to be there. I am so excited to see this cast of characters. Like Spider-Punk, who we'll get into, looks amazing. Spot looks amazing. We got Mayday with Peter B. Parker. Like, this movie is going to be a masterpiece. Like, I have a feeling.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be what Super Mario Bros. Wanted to be for Nintendo, but for Spider-Man. Like, it's going to actually have some really good depth and quality. Not even to take a shot at Mario. It was a fine movie. It was fine. But it was so much Nintendo. I feel like this is going to be so much Spider-Man, and it's going to be a really cool, really complex like story with great depth. All right, we got some bullet points here to talk about. First of all, the first thing I want to talk about is the line about Spider-Man 1999-99. That's clearly a Tom Holland reference, a Doctor Strange reference, Spider-Man No Way Home. And then a completely unnecessary, unjustified, rude shot at Tony Stark. All right, that said that Spider-Man in that MCU had a bad teacher. Excuse me. All right, let's hold up. Let's reverse this. We got problems. It's not Earth 1999-99, or is it? Who knows? If you ask the writers of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it's not. If you ask Mon Vellani, it is. So this feels, I'm going to be honest, what this feels like. This feels like Sony was just like, well, let's just reference that thing that we're not actually connected to, because it might sell a couple extra tickets, even if we write the reference before this other movie comes out and changes the whole thing. We have our reference, and we're going to stick with it anyway, because people on Twitter will know what we mean. Whatever. I think it's fun.
I have two thoughts on that. I think it's probably a combination of, first of all, I would pay money to see Iman Vellani's reaction to this trailer, because I'm sure she felt so vindicated. I know I felt very vindicated when that line got dropped. I think it's probably a thing of they didn't want to call it 616 when the comic universe is also 616. And I'm sure there is going to be one of the many Spider-Men in this whole movie is probably going to be from 616 in one way or another. So it's like, you don't want to double dip there and make it more confusing. But it doesn't help the discourse about what Earth this is. I also am not even really probably going to think about that again until another movie brings it up. But I liked that was in there. I don't know.
I did think the 616 thing in Strange was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Because that's comics. Like that's the comics.
Well, I mean, it's a Tower of Babel situation, right? If you were to ask somebody from another parallel Earth, like another weird BD that doesn't have a beard and like has blonde hair, he would think that he was from the main universe, right? He wouldn't think that you were the main one, but we all know that's not true. We all know you'd wrestle that man to the ground. And also, I would like to shout out, who is this? Is Patrick King watching on YouTube said the bad teacher thing is about himself teaching Miles. When Miguel is like yelling at him, he's like, yo, calm down. The kid had a bad teacher, meaning me. Look at my child. And everyone's happy to see me in my sweatpants. I love Jake Johnson.
If the timing of it felt like they just couldn't keep Iron Man's name out of their mouth.
What if he No, I'm not.
No, don't go there.
You've been Aaron's so good that he even knows when not to say things. He's such a prophet that he even knows not to joke and not to ruin his perfect streak with jokes. It actually feels like a good time to bring that up, Aaron. The prophet.
Yeah.
The prophet. True. Aaron requested a conversation today.
I believe we have a clip to roll. Can we get that clip from a couple weeks ago? And this is so harebrained. This is just all the social media like fervor. I think Miles is in.
Oh,
Miles!
Wow,
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales is in this thing. Yeah.
That was a conversation about Kang Dynasty.
It was. And then I also, when Cam Hayward was on the show, I said that you were like, when are we going to see Spider-Man again before Spider-Man 4? And I was like, coming this summer, July 21st, Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse, be there. Get your tickets early for this one. And they only fed the fire with having freaking Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Tom at the beginning of the trailer in other territories. I think it was like, Australia's Sony Pictures account. So I'm like, now we're all like, okay, maybe we are headed towards. And then you add the references to Tom Holland and Doctor Strange by name. Guys, I think we're probably going to get him in live action before we ever even get to Secret Wars at this point. Like, if this thing ends and Tom and them are in it. Even if they're only in it animated, I think Miles could even possibly be on the board for the fourth one. I know everybody wants Kingpin, everybody wants it to be grounded, but things got to move at the time they do. I don't know.
I don't think this movie Across the Spider-Verse will have a live action segment, but I think Beyond the Spider-Verse will.
That's what I was going to say.
I think so too.
If anything, maybe a post-credit scene does like a weird tease, but I hope not. I think you got to save that if you're going to do it.
In an interview with the directors, they said that there are, 5 universes in this thing, or it might be 6. And we've seen 4, whatever it is, -1. There's one that they're holding that's not in any of the trailers. They said that's not, you guys haven't seen it yet. We're holding it close to the vest. And all of this makes me go, is the 5th one what we think it is? That would be so wild. But also, I need to figure out, like, Kevin Feige needs to go hire the animators from this movie if it doesn't leak. If it doesn't get out there, please hire them to handle all the secrets, because how could you have saved it from everybody, right?
That would be pretty impressive. That would be some Lucasfilm level of secret keeping.
Right.
Yeah. What else we got?
Go listen to Lizzo this morning.
Spider-Man 2099 seems to clearly be the antagonist here in terms of organizing all the other Spideys to hunt down Miles. Anything we want to talk about on the Spider-Man 2099 front, Mr. Nueva York himself of the future?
I love that they just made him look like Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Like he's just Oscar Isaac.
So does Layla. Layla loves that too. Yeah.
I love being attracted to cartoon characters.
Someone clip it.
It's okay. Everybody has their thing.
Yeah.
We're not here to shame.
No, absolutely not.
The Spot, Jonathan Owen, that's a character who in comics at one point was roomies with a guy you might know him, Quentin Beck, Mysterio. Jenna, you got between Spider-Punk, The Spot, Jessica Drew, Spider-Man India, Spider-Bite.
Like I said, there's so much Professor Jenna. I could just do a whole seminar just off of this trailer. Spot is super cool because he works for Kingpin originally, and he was basically trying to harness Cloak and Dagger's like just dark energy, and he accidentally was able to open all of these portals that he could kind of use to will kind of open this like pocket dimension. And so I love seeing how this trailer started using him. It's one of those characters who almost feels impossible to do in live action because it would require so much like extra aesthetic stuff. But the way that they have it in this trailer, I'm really excited. Spider-Punk is super cool. He is he's like an alternate universe version of the very first Prowler, and he basically just exists in the UK. He kind of like rebels against the government, who is Norman Osborn, and he's just such a vibe. I love the way that they translated all of the newspaper pulp aesthetic of his powers. I think that's really cool. Jessica Drew has her own really long history that's very confusing that I could get into here, but one of her more recent stories does involve her being pregnant, and so we're kind of getting that of like her having a baby on the way. I'm very curious to see how her and Peter B. Parker maybe bond over that. Spider-Man India is basically Peter Parker's origin story in India, and it's just a really cool alternate universe version of that. And Spider-Bite is a spider hero who, like, the entire world that she's from is all VR avatars, and so she kind of is like this virtual sort of Spider-Man. So this trailer gives us so much, even just on that. And like, if you really wanted to pause and go frame by frame, you could find 80 more Spider-Men to talk about. So
seriously, yeah, we have a couple of videos on the YouTube channel where we try to break down as many Spider-Man as we could find in the last trailer. We didn't do that for this one yet. We might, if you guys want us to do that, drop a comment. We might try to throw together a video where we just go frame by frame. How many Spideys can we find, and who are they? Sorry, John Mason, in advance for volunteering us for that one, but that's what we do. That's what we do, baby. All right. Anything else on the Spider-Verse front you guys want to talk about before we get into all the MCU news, which is actually also pretty exciting this week? Anything else? All right.
One thing, because the Spider-Bite stuff in Spider-Verse is linked to Madam Web, and her like powers are linked to the Web of Life and Destiny. You're getting into some real arcane, weird, hour-long video essay about Spider-Man territory there. But that also would give it a reason to be related to all this other Peter Parker nonsense in different corners, not just Tom Holland, but like all of it. So we could be seeing them use the most popular thing that they have to like help really push the rest of all of it. Like there's still that Madam Web movie that's supposed to be next year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they could have a credit scene from Madam Web, Craven. They could fully ruin the film and put Craven at the end of it.
Love you, Aaron Johnson.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I'll never forget the most. I remember when what movie was it? I think it was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Had a post-credit scene that was for X-Men.
Yeah.
I think it was Days of Future Past.
Yep.
It was a Mystique scene.
Yep.
And it was just like I was like, wait, what? Everyone was so confused, thought like Spider-Man was about to cross over with the X-Men, but really Sony just owed Fox an ad. So they played a post-credit scene for one of their movies. It was just so confusing. But will Sony now just make a completely different universe, which it's the multiverse, so they can. I don't know. After that Morbius post-credit scene, I don't think there are rules or standards for credit scenes. I'm just excited for Across the Spider-Verse, and honestly, I don't even care what the credit scene is because I just want this movie in itself, from opening credits to ending credits, to be as spectacular as we all want it to be. And on that note, we're going to take a 1-minute break. We come back. We got some really big MCU news. We got quotes from Simu Liu, Chris Evans, and Frank Grillo dropping some heat in an interview with Chris Killian. We got to talk about that. We will be right back. Welcome back to Phase Zero, presented by Enterprise. Right now, it's time for the MCU news section of the show. If you have questions for us, we might be able to have time at the end of the show to answer them with you. Frank Grillo did an interview with Chris Killian in which he had some words about Crossbones and some news about working with James Gunn. Let's roll the clip.
Yeah, I want to apologize in advance, but I am with comicbook.com, so don't shoot the messenger, but I have to ask a Crossbones question.
Yeah.
Don't I love apologize. Now, Chris Evans has said he believes there's more Cap stories to tell. Do you feel the same way about Crossbones?
Yeah, I mean, they never told the story. You know, they never look, the mythology of the MCU and just what Marvel has in its pool of characters. It's so deep, you know, it's like Crossbones was, there for a minute and he was supposed to be there longer and then they went in the direction they did. But I think Crossbones serves a purpose, but I think the interesting thing is if you see how many people around the world have responded to Crossbones, and again, he's only on the screen for a very short amount of time. I think there's more there. There was more meat on the bone, and I was disappointed. Do you know what I mean? Which is why I went over to DC.
So he went over to DC, huh? This man would be a good Deathstroke.
I have so many theories about that. I won't get too far into them. I would be shocked if this man is not involved in Creature Commandos in some capacity. Every day, I feel like he could play a completely different character in there, but I feel like that could be a definite possibility. I know he was also at the Shazam premiere like a couple weeks ago, and people are like, what are you doing here? So I love that he basically said the quiet words out loud.
Yeah, my thoughts here are, as far as Crossbones is concerned, I don't need more Brock Rumlow story. I don't like. It's not like I don't care. Crossbones was cool, was certainly underused, but also whatever. Going over to DC, it's like, man, there's a lot of possibilities there. I wish Chris had time to follow up and be like, wait, yeah, I'm excited for your DC. Can you tell me who you're playing? But then then that's when you get to wrap it up, get out of here. Aaron, Jamie, what do you guys think of this?
I mean, you don't see George St. Pierre complaining. He got to come back and use his flight suit and fight Anthony Mackie. I don't know. there's only so many slots, and unfortunately James Gunn doesn't run everything, so these weird C-list villains don't get to have the pushes that maybe they deserve. Like, there's just, maybe if he was in charge of more things, David Dasmalchian would just be in everything. He'd just be some obscure 60s villain that's only appeared in one Strange Tales, would be the villain of every single one of these movies. So I get it.
Here's the thing for Frank Grillo. Like, I'm sure at every convention he goes to, a lot of interviews, Crossbones is a constant talking point because it's the same thing. Like, I mean, I just had to ask Chris Pratt about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 at the Super Mario Junket. I had a 10-minute interview with him, and I spent 9 minutes talking about Mario, but there's only so much Mario content people are going to consume. I host a Marvel show, comicbook.com. I have to ask a Marvel question. As Chris said in that video, we are comicbook.com. I see the comments on that video on the Facebook are like, why does Brandon always do this? It's because we created this content, because you just watched it. If I asked him about Mario, the thousands of views on this video wouldn't be here. And it'll do well on the comic book channel with the other 90% of the interview. So like, I get it. I also, I get the whole frustration with, honestly, the Marvel stuff isn't hitting as hard anymore anyway, which is interesting. So it's like, well, we got to find new things to talk about. That's our job, is to constantly find the most interesting thing to talk about that our audience wants to hear about. So just got to keep doing that. And I find it interesting that means Frank Grillo has been asked about Crossbones who knows how many times, which probably makes him think everyone wants more Crossbones. And I'm sure there are people who want to see more of Brock Rumlow, but I thought Brock Rumlow had a good enough story. It served its purpose. And unfortunately, some characters don't get, to be leads and get a whole bunch of deeper story. Jenna, what you got?
I will say, because I pulled up this tweet from yesterday from Comic Book Herald, which is an account that I follow that's really good. They basically talked about how there was this unintentional failure of early MCU of like getting rid of so many villains so quickly, of like either killing them off or doing something very definitive to where we can't bring them back. Even like Batroc, it's like, oh, we brought him back and then immediately killed him off again. And so it's like, yes, I can understand the narrative of doing that, but it is a little frustrating, especially I'm sure if you're the actor, of like you get to play this character who does always have more meat on the bone, and then you get killed off in your second appearance, and then you can never play them again unless like the multiverse brings them back or something. So I agree with your point of like there isn't necessarily this large swath of Crossbone stories, but there probably were more ways to use them that they didn't even really get to.
Yeah. Well, he's on to DC, and we are on to Shang-Chi too.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Simu talked to the Collider about Shang-Chi 2. This is what he said. He said, going into a sequel feels exciting. It doesn't necessarily feel like there's a pressure to perform or a pressure to exceed. It feels like we've established a world, and there's just something really nostalgic and exciting about returning to that world that we've spent so much time ideating on and thinking about. And then we're getting to revisit some things, but also show the viewer new things. Yes, that is what a sequel is. We'll deliver all of the amazing action that we were celebrated for on the first movie, but then also hopefully explore new sides of Sean's character and the characters around him. That is, of course, if we can still afford Michelle Yeoh. She's on top of the world and just the queen of everything. Well, that last sentence surely is accurate, but I can't imagine Michelle, of all people, being like, no, I'm too good for this now. Like, there's no way. Sorry that I broke the quote in the middle there for my own. I hadn't read the quote yet, so that really made me laugh. Like this, yeah, that's what a sequel does. What do you guys think?
What sequel is he talking about?
I know Feige had said like, oh, we're working on something. Like they've whispered about it, but they've never confirmed anything. I feel like there are half a dozen movies that could or could not. They're like Pandora's box or Schrodinger's box at this point of like, they could happen before Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, or they could not. Like we have absolutely no idea. But I feel like Adam is probably losing his mind at like the idea of like new things and new characters. It's like Iron Fist. Are we getting Iron Fist? Like I'm sure he's very happy about that.
Wasn't there a Hollywood Reporter thing where they said that they're making it, or like it got greenlighted, but then like Marvel never really we don't have a logo, I guess, is what was going on. They didn't trot Destin and them out on stage at D23. Jamie will have to tell us if that happens or not.
I mean, at D23 again. I talked about it too much. I didn't they like say that Destin was doing like or Disney Plus thing, but then like they kind of snuck in the news that like he is going to direct the sequel. There's just nothing else beyond that.
Yeah.
American Born Chinese is coming out soon.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
working on Wonder Man. He's directing Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which has to be starting at least pre-production soon because it's scheduled for release in 2025, and it's going to be a big old film. Where and when does Destin Daniel Cretton get the time to direct a Shang-Chi sequel? Where and when does Simu get the time to make a Shang-Chi sequel if he's going to have a big part in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which we expect he's going to? Because if you remember that interview from the box lunch thing back in December, he basically said without saying that he's in Kang Dynasty. So I don't know. I'm still on the team of let's just push everything back and give some sequels, give some time to these characters before we rush into these next Avengers movies. Spider-Man 4, Shang-Chi 2. Marcus Ward in the comments section knows how bad I want Shang-Chi 2. But I mean, whether it's Shang-Chi, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's Miss Marvel, whether it's She-Hulk, whether it's Thor, whether, all these new characters that we met and these characters we got to see again, especially characters like Spider-Man, who had these really crazy repercussions from the stories of their film and changed their standing within the Avengers and within the MCU going into these next Avengers movies. I really think it would serve us well to check in with them and spend time with them and see their new relationships, see their new powers, see their new individual standing and reflection of themselves. And I think that those are really changing for a lot of characters. And going into the next Avengers movies, Yelena Belova, we've seen a couple times. Probably going to see again. We are going to see again in Thunderbolts. That's great. What about everyone else? It's like I want it. We introduced so many characters. I'd really love some time to see some of them meet each other, see some of them, get to know them better, their characters, the things they're fighting for, the things they represent. But I don't think that's all going to happen. So the question just remains: what and when is this Shang-Chi sequel?
I feel like it is more likely though, because I feel like just based on what Bob Iger is saying and like what the kind of streets are saying about stuff, I feel like you might get your wish of just stuff being pushed back and stuff being able to breathe. I honestly hope that ends up being the case, but who knows? Until they officially say it, who knows?
I'll be honest, and it's kind of sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
It's all right. It's okay. Go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
I was like, I agree with Langley McNeely on YouTube, where I think it's going to be a tournament movie, and I think it's just going to be a tournament movie on Battle World. Like, I think that's where we're headed. That's what it is, and that's why they can't talk about what it is, and they haven't announced it yet because the world hasn't been crushed. Although I don't know, there's so many things in limbo that I have not been here to talk about because I've been tasting wedding cake and other things that I don't know what the plan around any of that is anymore. I have no clue. So.
I mean, if Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time is a story that is taking place between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, that's great. That'd be a really interesting story on Battle Worlds. But also, the second Shang-Chi movie being a Civil War level film, it's not a Shang-Chi movie. The same way Civil War is not just a Cat movie. It very much is a Cat movie, but it's also an Iron Man movie, a Scarlet Witch and Vision movie, a Hawkeye and Black Widow movie. Black Panther and Spider-Man are introduced. So I don't know. I'm selfish. I want my Shang-Chi sequel. I want my standalone, but I do want the events. So I was just going to say it's kind of like you can't please everybody. And yes, I want these Avengers film. I want these event level films. I wouldn't hate if there was almost 10 years between Avengers films if it meant getting back to it because of how much we're getting along the way. But I guess we'll see. That's enough of that. Speaking of, I don't know what we're speaking of. That's terrible.
I was wondering how the segue was going to work.
There was no transition there, but we're moving on to Captain America. Former Captain America, to be clear.
So Chris Evans was at the C2E2 convention in Chicago. I got to sit in on his panel on Sunday. And of course, they asked about, are you going to come back as Steve Rogers? And his answer was very, very interesting. He said, it's tough because, look, I love that role deeply. He means so much to me. And I really do. I think that there's more Steve Rogers stories to tell, sure. But at the same time, I'm very, very precious with it. I'd become, it's like this little shiny thing that I have that I love so much. And I just don't want to mess it up in any way. And I was a part of something that was so special for the special period of time. And in a way, it really landed so well. As much as I'm connected to that role and I love telling those stories and working with those people, it doesn't quite feel right now. So all of you wanting your, Cap returns the Infinity Stones Disney Plus series, it sounds like he doesn't want that to happen. But what do y'all think?
It's nice of him to say this about, Scott Pilgrim, to grouse so nicely about Scott Pilgrim for that long. That's nice of him to do. I don't know. I'm worried for other reasons that are just apparent and everything else that I talk about. Like, if you do get an Infinity Stones return series and it's not what you expect, are you going to be happy? I'm just sitting here like a wrestling heel. Like, if you get everything you want, are you really going to be happy? Is it really going to make you happy if it's not exactly what you want it to be? Mandalorian fans, if it's not exactly what you want it to be, are you going to be all right? So be careful.
I haven't seen today's episode yet. I'm watching it on my plane to Star
I'm
Wars.
so sad that actors were spoiled for me already. Because I fell asleep. The
Oh,
one night I
no.
fell asleep at midnight in my life, I missed
Oh.
some exciting things.
I'm downloading it and watching it on plane, which I'm going to Star Wars Celebration tonight, but I just got a text from United while we were on the show that my flight out of Nashville today is delayed, and therefore I don't think I'm going to make my connection to London. So it's going to be a fun afternoon once we're done here, figuring out how I'm getting over there. But yeah, Chris Evans. Speaking of Chris Evans, I personally like that Infinity Stone thing you just mentioned. Like, yes, I would be entertained by that. I'd enjoy watching that. That said, I think if you don't do that, if and when he does return, Secret Wars type thing, the payoff is greater if we haven't seen him since Endgame, in my opinion. So,
I wanted him to be the villain of New World Order so bad. I wanted him to be the villain of New World Order so bad, and just be Hydra Cap, and they're never going to give that to me. So I'm like, if I don't get that, it's fine, Chris. You can.
Would he be like
golf.
Chris Evans or Joe Biden? Chris Evans. Would he be old Steve or?
Man, now I think it should be old withered version of him. That would be actually kind of fun.
He's on the moon. Yeah. We all know it. All right, we got one last piece of news before we wrap up today's show.
Oh,
actually, it's like a double whammy of news too.
Oh yeah, so we got Zeb Wells added to Deadpool 3 script alongside the long-running partnership with Ryan Reynolds and the writing team that did the first two movies. And we've got Avatar 2's Josh Friedman rewriting Fantastic Four, bro. So there's that. A movie that Jamie has not seen, and probably I'm waiting for it as well.
No.
But it earned $1 gajillion. So who am I? I'm
not because of the story.
Ooh.
There it is.
Jeez.
The story's fine. Avatar 2 is good. It's fine, but the story is not why it earned why it bought a new Titanic boat.
Why a new Titanic boat?
I'm just saying. Everybody who's well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody because then they'll all yell at me. But in my opinion, Avatar: The Way of Water story was just fine. Like, it's cool. It's long as hell, but it's visually just absolutely stunning. So, ET's what to do. Listen, if this means Fantastic Four is going to look that good, you go get it, Josh Friedman. But the Zeb Wells on Deadpool 3 is interesting because he's written a whole ton of comics.
Yeah,
and he wrote on She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Yes.
And
that's
I think the
that's
Marvels.
right.
I think he's one of the screenwriters on the Marvels. So they're just using him for so many things, which is great. For FF and Avatar 2, part of me stupidly is like, oh, are they getting a new screenwriter because they're writing to whoever they want to cast in these roles, and they're like, tailoring the characterization for these actors. But we're still stuck in this hell of never knowing who's playing any of these people. So I don't want to get my hopes up anymore.
If we never talked about Fantastic Four again until there was actual news, I'd be fine. I would be so okay with my life. But things are moving. Chris Evans, not one of them. All right. That's our show today, everybody. Presented by Enterprise. Thank you so much for joining us. I had fun doing little theory chats, not spoiler breakdowns, but breakdowns of the trailers. It feels like it's been a minute since we've done those. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tickets are on sale now. Go buy tickets in Chicago and LA and Nashville and come watch the movie with us. Except maybe don't. I don't know. That'd be kind of weird. But I just don't know how to end today's show. I'm running on very little sleep. I went to Budapest and I went to WrestleMania. And as you can hear, I kind of lost my voice at WrestleMania. I was losing my mind. I was a little kid in a candy store watching wrestling. And I'm really annoyed that I didn't get to meet up with Aaron. And that's a big reason why I was yelling so much. I was just cursing to the heavens.
It was literally me, you, and Cleo, all like within a triangle.
Cleo was on every video package too.
Man's busy.
Cleo, Phase Zero guest, Cleo Thomas. Best known for Phase Zero, also known for being in Holes. Cleo was at Friday Night SmackDown at the Crypto.com arena on the Friday before WrestleMania, and he just was in every shot of the crowd, just front and center. And then every WrestleMania package, this man was on the big screen every time. And I was like, that guy, there he is. So that was funny. Oh, by the way, now this isn't locked in, but it's pretty locked in, assuming nothing else gets in the way. Speaking of WrestleMania and Phase Zero, next week on the show, George Kittle gonna be in studio. We're finalizing it, but we've been talking, and we're looking at getting Pat McAfee's tag team partner against The Miz to join us on Phase Zero. So I think we're gonna have a fun time. A little competition for NFL stars. I think Cam Hayward and George Kittle are gonna have to battle it out if this does come to fruition. So yeah. All right, y'all. Jenna, any last words for today's show?
Go read some comics. There's a new issue of Scarlet Witch out this week. It is excellent as always. I know Jamie's very happy and excited to read it, and so is Aaron. But yeah, go read some comics, and it's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on all the social medias.
Yes, it is. Aaron, what you got for us?
It's at something like Hornet on Twitter. Actually, they added a new origin for Darcy. Like,
Yes.
that's monstrous. I'm like, what's going on here, Jamie? And I would like to thank Disney Plus. We went out to the premiere of the crossover yesterday, and that is delightful. It's very fun. It's very heartwarming. Co-produced by LeBron James. It's if you like basketball, you like your little teen drama, you know, a step away from what we normally cover here. Give it a watch.
Nice. Jamie?
Speaking of things we don't normally cover, the Grease Rise of the Pink Ladies premieres this week. You know I'm the world's biggest Grease fan, so I talked to the cast and some of the people involved with the show, so keep an eye out for those videos. They're all up. And this week I'm going to the pop-up. I get to walk into the Frosty Palace myself. I can't wait. So keep an eye out for all that goodness and watch the show. If you like musicals and cute things, you will like this. But if you don't like musicals and cute things, okay, live your life. Otherwise, I'm at Jamie Cinematics on Twitter and Letterboxd.
And I also suggest following Jamie because Jamie got to go to a Blue Beetle trailer launch event.
Oh, yeah.
Got to do the comic photo. There is all sorts of great Blue Beetle coverage on comicbook.com/DC right now. Thanks to Jamie being there and having a good time on it was on the Warner Brothers lot, right?
Yeah, that's so more relevant to what we do, but I'm just like, Grace! Thank you for bringing it up because the Blue Beetle trailer looks so good, and it was like Zolo. I'm just like so excited for his debut. He was a sweet kid. Like I just think that he's like perfect for this role, and it was great to meet him. I botched the photo. I didn't get the cover of the comic in the photo. Now I know better. But and also the director is just so cool. Like I just wanted to hang out with him. There's lots of cool stuff from a lot of cool quotes from them on the website, so check that out.
I think it's funny that you had the back cover in the photo showing rather than the front cover. The first time I did the comic photo, I was with Zachary Levi, and I fully just had my hand over the cover, like covering the whole thing, and I was like, wow, I stink. But I guess we all have to go through one.
Yeah.
But yeah, go to comicbook.com/DC for that. Make sure you're following Jamie at Jamie Cinematics for all the goodness. And hit me up at Brandon Davis BD. I'll be going out to Star Wars Celebration. I haven't even had a chance to look at the schedule for it yet. All I know now is that my flight is delayed and who knows when I'm getting there. But Richard and I are heading out to London, and it's going to be a good time. So make sure you're following along. And we really appreciate you guys following the show. We were able to get a sponsor. Thanks, Enterprise. How about that? We're 2.5 years into doing Phase Zero. This is insane. But I look forward to this every week, and I love the audience here. I love doing the show with you guys, and it just feels like we're still just finding new ways to do fun stuff. And hopefully, we sent so many pitches for Guardians of the Galaxy stuff with that coming up around the corner. And I'm really, really hoping we get to do some fun stuff with the cast. Hopefully, get some fans involved. Obviously, no idea if any of the stuff that the comic book pitched over there is going to get approved. We pitch stuff for every movie, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And hopefully this is one of those, because this is my most anticipated film of the year. It's obviously a huge Marvel film, and I know our audience is very excited for it. I know Aaron doesn't really care about it, and we're all going to have a good time. So I love you, Aaron. I'm just kidding, man. All right, y'all. Well, we'll see you next Wednesday for more Phase Zero. Hit me up at Brandon Davis PD if you want to talk in the meantime, and have a good weekend. Bye.
Go rent a car.